Welcome back to Let's Talk Race to Ireland. I'm your host, Harrison Paul. Today we're going to talk about the fact that asylum seekers have been moving from the UK to Ireland because of the Rwanda bill. There's a lot about this going on at the moment that has been troubling me. Numerous reports on it, whether it be ITV, whether it be RTE. And I almost did a video on it yesterday, but I couldn't find a way to articulate it the way I wanted to. And I came to it today that I said, listen, I'm going to have to make this video very raw in many ways. So if you are an intellectually or rather emotionally intelligent person, please stay in this video today because you will definitely enjoy this episode and understand what I'm getting at in this episode. If you are not, you may find yourself scratching your head and wondering, what is this guy talking about? But I'm going to talk about, emotional intelligence today, and then that will kind of reflect on what is happening in politics at the moment. There's been a lot of reports about, asylum seekers here and there. Where did they go? Did they go here? Are we out to send them back? You can't send them back here. It's not our dump, take your dump back. It's not our trouble, take your trouble back. And I can't help but feel this underlining dehumanization that's taking place as these conversations unfold. There is a side of the conversation, not only are we dehumanizing the black or brown person, but there's also a superiority, an air of superiority, an air of, the high moral ground where, listen, we are such good, great people. We just don't have the capacity to be as good as we want to be or as we can be. And it puts the West, the white man, whatever you would like to use the term, back on this moral high ground in which he, I've been hearing a lot of this, phrases of like, this isn't Irish values, or this isn't British values, or this isn't French values, or, the human values, or, I heard Macron had made a quote towards, kind of sneak dissing England and Rishi Sunak about human rights and these are not European values, and I can't help but feel this huge frustration as I ask myself, how have they yet again put themselves in this place where, and this is where I talk about again about narrative, it's so important. Look, with the control of the narrative, they've put themselves again in a position where they are, the civilized people who have all great intentions for the human species, for human life, and they're doing the best they can to manage human life as the leaders and the head of human life. It is so frustrating to watch people who are criminals, who have no morals, who are wicked, now have a conversation amongst themselves, a public conversation with their media outlets about, listen, man, I've been a good parent. It's your weekend to have this child, or it's your. And I can't help but and I'm trying to rather make people understand, do you think people do things out of the goodness of their hearts? Where have we lost the plot as a human species? This is the power of the narrative. This is why, black person, my brother or sister, it is not cringy when you see a brother like me sit down and war to have control of the narrative. And then some may say, oh, I don't focus too much on that. I just go about my business. Well, Your boss sits at home and turns on the television and listens to that narrative. So you can try and act too cool for school, or you can try act too above it, or I'm focused on my business. Well, the person who's paying your bills sits at home and flicks on RTE before he goes to bed, or flicks on ITV before he goes to bed, or flicks on the narrative before they go to bed. And his ability to respect you is being shaped by that television screen, by that radio he played on his way to work. As they were having this discussion, and the air, oh, come on, brothers and sisters, stick with me today. The air in which they're discussing the black or brown person, it is completely void of historical facts. It is completely void of current day facts. We don't even know the half of the dealings that these countries, these Western countries, the European Union, the EU, the UN, the World Trade, these organizations run by the white man. We don't even know the half of how criminal these organizations are. These are the biggest mafia. This is why when the narrative about, oh, black people, all they do is steal and do this and do that and this, that, and the third, and these negative narratives, that is not taking into consideration white-collar crime. That is not taking, if we were to do like the statistics on how many people in white-collar crime who, like, for example, what are the odds that a white person can become successful and make their way up and won't become a criminal? But we don't look at it like we don't look at it like criminality. How much of them go into those places and do not compromise their integrity or do not compromise their morals? And here's the proof. Because with as much as as much of them up there as they are, how much real information leaks to people like you and me down here? So they control the narrative about which criminality is more dangerous, which criminality is more life-threatening, which criminality destroys the world that we are living in. So then it's like you upset about the person who's, I guess, creating, global warming. I don't know if we still use that term, by littering and forgetting there are multi-million, multinationals putting toxins into the air every day. But yet you're driving to work and you saw someone throw something on the ground and you were frustrated all day thinking about, wow, that person. No care for the earth. But the companies and the real bit are pumping toxic airs and the billionaires are taking private jets and killing us way faster. But because they control the narrative, this type of talk that I do is just, what do they call it? Conspiracy theories. Nothing, look. But the belief really is that the people who operate in these high places, there is an overestimation of their morality. There's an overestimation of how, morally sane these people are. Yet these people are probably more corrupt, definitely more corrupt than you and I. I was talking to a very intelligent person quite recently, an American brother, and I'm so happy that we had a great conversation on Sunday. And it was through voice notes, and there was a few takeaways from the conversation that I want to drop in this conversation today for you guys to hear it. It was just a great conversation, and I just think that there's some parts here that we can listen to and start chatting about. So take a listen to this.
So again, I think a key thing here is honesty. Honesty in all cases, honesty about the material realities of what's happening. We need to be honest with people about the history and the present, about the fact that the Irish helped the British colonize half the globe. We also need to be honest about the fact that Ireland isn't an independent country, that it is dominated by neocolonial forces of international capital, such as American corporations, all the foreign direct investment, which is causing honestly the impoverishment of the vast majority, and the reason why, compared to most other people in Europe, Irish people suffer more in terms of like income, and there are all these statistics with income inequality that you can look at. Instead of putting it on immigrants, I think if we can combine those two things, that's going to be helpful. Because right now the average person has the understanding of, well, in the first instance, my country is free. It became free in 1921 or 1922. No, it just moved to a different form of neocolonialism, and it became white in 1921 or 1922. And then they also believe that, like, at best, racial minorities, black people, immigrants, should be, like, pitied and helped, but they're, not truly respected, aren't truly equal. So we need to change that from, like, I'm free and we need to help them, to I'm still colonized and I'm oppressing them and my society is oppressing them and benefiting from their oppression. And we need to unite and just smash this whole thing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So with that, there's so much there to unpack, but I'm going to go straight into the most important thing. I'm going to talk about how he began to talk about, at best, the black or brown person should be pitied. This is where I call upon the emotionally intelligent people to rock with me for a second. And I'm going to jump into a conversation I was having. Remember, stick with me. We're still talking about the way they're discussing this topic, this topic across all news channels. What do we do with the blackies? What do we do with the brownies? What do we do with the people who can't help themselves? What do we do with these hopeless people? What do we do with these inferior people? What do we do with these uncivilized people? What do we do? How do we help civilize these people? No, nobody has to say this out loud. There is a message that is being downloaded. Let me tell you a conversation I had with my lady, beautiful, wonderful lady. I had a conversation with her today. And we were talking about relationships. We were talking about friendships. We were talking about, certain friends who've come in and out of our lives and whatnot. And I'm going to open up to you. There was a point in the conversation where she was like, babe, there's certain people I never really gave an explanation as to why our friendship did not continue. And I often feel like I wish I got a chance to give an explanation for it, but I don't even know how I would, explain the explanation, or, how I would, piece it together, what I would say, or how I'd pick certain things without sounding, I don't know how it would sound. And I said to her, I feel the exact same way with a lot of relationships that are, friendships that are no longer in my life. And I said to her, and I don't actually intend on calling out these small, periods, because everybody, and most intelligent people, you can remember the moment you had an awakening that I don't think this person actually likes me as much as I think they do. I don't think this person loves me. I don't think this person sticks by me. And it's an accumulation of moments. It's an accumulation of, maybe you grow up, you mature, and your discernment improves, and you can look in someone's eye and you can remember when they used to look at me like that, or remember when I used to look good, and when I step out looking good, their eye wasn't really glowing up, And, I always say this, one of the main reasons when I grew up and I decided to really love my mom even more, was like, I grew up and I when I be looking, you know yourself, when you look good, when you put yourself together, and there's a proud look on a mother's face when she sees you like that. There's a proud look on the face, and I was like, wow, this is what it's supposed to look like when your homie looks at you and like, oh, you're looking good, But you may have a friend who want to hold that compliment back from you, or who may feel away, or may not want you to get your head too big, so you might start floating away. But when you're around someone who loves you, they want to fill you up in a way where they're like, I'm trying to make you fly as high, and they don't have any issue with that. So I said some things just came back to just realizing, you know what? There are so many little bitty things that I wouldn't even get into a petty argument and ask you, what was this or what was that? But there were certain friendships that, your presence made me question made me question myself. Please stick with me today. You caused and triggered an insecurity inside of me. The way you would make a comment, the way you would make a shrewd comment here, or a sentence here, or say this little thing here, or laugh here, or when I tried this thing out, you didn't support me, you laughed at me, and it was all jokes, kidding, and oh, that's a joke, it's a joke, oh, it's a joke, it's a joke. And I realized when now I began to understand that, listen, flying to a higher place, please follow me, brothers and sisters, you need the confidence, every inch of confidence you need. You know yourself, when anybody in this watching this show today, if you're a big dreamer, you got things that you almost try to talk yourself out of every single day, that you have to talk yourself back into every day and tell yourself, no, you are worth that. You are capable of that. You are enough for this. You are, and you got that other little voice that's telling you, you really think that's you? I know you told yourself that yesterday, but are you sure you good at that? Are you sure you're able to do that? Are you sure you that dope? And there's another you that's saying, you gotta. So I realized the more you set your goals and standards for yourself so high, it is so important that the other voices around you are affirming voices that constantly have no issue telling you the one, you him, you her, go for it, do it. And there's not a moment where you joke about these things. It's your elevation is not a joke at any point. It's a serious project that the people around you are serious about. Follow me today, brothers and sisters. It's a big one. And there's certain people like, you know what? No disrespect, it's all love, but I just knew when I got around you, and certain people, you get off the phone with them and you got on the phone and you were like dreaming big, thinking big things. You shared it with that person. You got off the phone doubting yourself. That's a phone call I don't pick up no more. There may have been no direct beef. There may have been no direct situation, but you get off the phone and you kind of thinking, am I able for that? Because they just put a doubt in your head. They've put this and there's there's energies that you get around that make you doubt who you are. And this is not someone who challenges you positively. This is someone who has a negative air, who has a little bit of a mouthpiece, and it's all jokes and games. They don't mean it like that, but then they make up for it because they got a lot of love for you. They'll come through. They might borrow you some money. They might do certain things. But I even had to come to a place where I was like, no, you know what? Maybe that little help that you gave me here on this season, that little help is not enough to the consistency of positivity. The consistency of positivity. There's a voice who's trying to talk me out of who God has told me that I am every single day. And I need voices that work along with that voice, with God's voice that is trying to tell me. I need voices that work along with God's voice that don't tell me you're supposed to do that. And you're like, God, you told me I'm supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this. And you need those voices that reaffirm. So there's certain people like you let them go just purely off the fact that you said, you know what? It's too many people. I'm not even going to get no argument with you. I'm just going to drift because this environment doesn't allow me to believe I'm things I can't even say out loud because you're going to think I'm, do you understand what I'm saying? What I want black people to understand is that when we are too naive to interject into this war of the mind, this war of controlling the narrative, when we think it's just our portion to just shut up and just keep going and keep the head down and keep it moving and do our thing and don't worry and just do you, it's stupid. It is just pure stupidity. I want you to understand the white man, the Westerner, has literally built his empire by talking, by controlling a narrative, by controlling this little thing. This little thing is why we believe, and that's another thing that me and this mate, one of my friends here were talking about on that Instagram I played for you. Either he was like, I'm at a place where I'm questioning the intentions of the U.S. government, and we're not allowed to do that. I used to get in fights with my high school teachers because I would question the intention of the U.S. government and the military. And I love how he said, and we always had to believe that the U.S. government never meant any wrong. And if they did mean any wrong, it was by mistake. If they did do something wrong, if they killed someone it was a genuine mistake, but their endeavors were always pure intentioned. And this is what we have to believe about the news. And this is what we are not supposed to believe that the person who's running a news channel is just as conniving as that little old Nico Dooley who's living across the corner, who's the jobless woman or the jobless guy. We are supposed to believe that they're conniving. No. Sorry. They've just learned to channel it differently. The news channel and the people who run that place have just learned to channel it differently. They just as conniving as each other. The people who run the country, the people who run all these things, the people who run the West and the narrative are just as conniving as a boy who's breaking the windows and stealing. But guess what? They just channeled it differently. So then we, last before anything, will believe in the crookedness of the world that we live in. So then we find ourselves having a very toxic view on ourselves as black and brown people, whether you like it or admit it or not, in the subconscious mind. In the subconscious mind. And what I want black and brown people to understand, that it is so important that you arm yourself with the right mentality in this hour. Not just, I don't care, words don't hurt me. No. You need to arm your mind with truth. With truth, that you combat this mentality so specifically. So specifically, not just I don't care and so specifically. This will help you understand what aura to take up. In this current time of my life, I'm going to be honest with you. The information I study does a lot for me, more than just what I'm able to provide on this show. It helps me in my day-to-day life and how I deal with this Western world. And I can definitely see how their narrative has affected the perspective of the people I encounter on a day-to-day basis. But you don't like this word, you gotta be woke. And you gotta know what it looks like when someone says, I know where you get your news from. You get your news from RTE. You get your news from Spin 103A. You get your news from ITV. You get your news from BBC. Where else were they going to get it? And this is so important in this time. So to take a round to what I'm trying to explain to you, you may not see it as important. And why I use that example of the conversation I was having with my lady. There are certain relationships that we had to let go purely based off the fact that there were no beef, there were good times, there were joke times, there were laugh times, but there's a narrative within that relation. There's a way you are treated, a way that someone makes, that it affects you subconsciously. This is human nature. It's not about being weak. It's not about being, I don't care what people say. It's a fact of life. That's why when you put black babies in and they pick the white doll before they pick the black doll, it's nothing you can say. That's why I'm going to put up on the screen for you guys to see. It was proven that teachers, when they were asked to look out for bad behavior from children, their minds automatically went to the black children. I'm going to put on the screen for you guys to see it.
So this video is why when you say, I don't see color, we don't believe you.
Take a look at these 4 kids. These preschool teachers watched a video of them playing for a 2016 study. The study asked them to press the enter key every time they saw a behavior that could become a potential challenge. But the thing about the study is it's kind of deceptive. There's actually no misbehavior in the video. The kids are actors, and the researchers were using eye tracking software because what they really wanted to know was when teachers expect misbehavior, who are they watching? The study found that both white and black teachers spent more time gazing at black boys than other children. Black boys make up less than a quarter of the nation's preschoolers, but more than 40% of preschool suspensions. The study's lead researcher told the Washington Post that implicit biases don't begin with black men and police. They begin with black preschoolers and their teachers, if not earlier.
You can't address implicit biases unless you first acknowledge they're there.
You see that? You see that? The narrative has a life of its own, whether you like it or not. You're not too cool for this kind of stuff. These are the fundamentals of life. If you tell your child every day in the household that he is nothing, whether he is strong or not, he's going to go out and it's going to feel like nothing. This is life. And telling your child in reverse that he is enough is not enough either. There is a certain specific narrative that we must push out. It is the narrative of truth. So on one hand, when we are seeing the white man saying we should have pity on the black man, at best, someone to be pitied, you have to say, we know you are a criminal to begin with. We know you are a criminal. Who are you? Who are you to stand on a more high ground and act like this is who we should help and shouldn't help? You are stealing from everybody. But you struggle to believe that. Why? Because they have done so well at dominating the narrative. They have been so diligent in doing what I'm doing right now, sitting down and making sure they plan a way to indoctrinate all you people with televisions and phones and screens and all sorts of things. And as much as you think is going over your head, there is little leaks that stay in the back of your mind. And that is why a white person who even thinks they're trying to be nice finds himself pitying a black person. And that's one who's trying to be nice, not realizing that it is only going to be truth that makes us on equal level. Your boss is watching that narrative, is a victim of that narrative. We must educate each other in this time. We must become vigilant and not naive to the fact that the narrative and controlling the narrative is the most important thing. Indoctrinate ourselves with our own narrative. So I hate when I see them interviewing the people who are on the street. I'm not sure what Dublin Street that is, and I'm scared they're going to send me back to Rwanda, and everyone's watching this and saying, oh, there they go, the black and brown people. And you think just because your boss saw that news channel and she's nice to you in work, that it ain't done something to the back of her mind? There is a reason truth was left out when it comes to Irish and African history and the interaction between the Irish and the African and the Irish involvement in the slave trade, because it was going to damage their heroes and their greats. If you want more information on this, please watch my other episodes. I do not have time to explain it today. But they keep these things out because that's going to affect their narrative too much, their greats. If we were to actually unravel and see, this is why I like people like Claire Daly, what the European Union has in terms of its relationship with Africa and the modern day colonialism, the relationship, then do you think a news channel where they're talking about a black and brown person, like, listen, help them, we can, you help them, no, you help them, do you think that news channel is as effective? No. We get to talking about the things that are actually important, like the oil that's being stolen from these countries, like the fact that the kind of deals that are happening and the percentages on these deals, and we get to see the true criminality of the Western countries and how they have a supremacy due to history and current day, and how they maintain that supremacy, economic supremacy. We don't discuss these things, and this is all by design. And I just want black and brown people to understand that don't play too cool, don't play smart. Even your idea that black people should be helped. I remember I saw something, and I'll sign off on this. I saw someone who said, it was a very nice video when I'll put it up. I gotta put it up, actually. I gotta put it up and I'll let you guys see it.
And I know they're targeting immigrants. I'm proud to be Irish, but I'm even more proud to be an immigrant. My parents came here in 1997, and from war-torn Burundi, everything was bombed. They left with nothing. So knowing that I come from very humble beginnings, a lot of asylum seekers regret their circumstances, and they want nothing more than to integrate and to contribute to society, pay their taxes, and just be a part of a new Ireland. Like, I just think we're not the problem. And the fact that people use their unhappiness to, have an excuse for their bigotry is just... Growing up where I grew up, like, there were a group of people that probably weren't the best educated and used, my family moving into an estate as the first black family as an excuse to, cause fires around our house or egg us and everything like that. Because, maybe it scares them. I don't know. They're not used to having people that are not Irish around them. No education. But it just takes a bit of integration, getting to know these people, knowing that they want nothing more than to work and contribute to this country. And they don't want to cause any of this havoc that is going on right now. And the people that are saying, oh, immigrants are destroying Dublin, you're the ones destroying Dublin. Yeah. Look at last night. Like, there's not one immigrant inside on the streets looting.
My family came here from a war-torn country, and I just came to work, and God bless her. That's a wrong narrative to have. The narrative you should be knowing is who's causing those wars and who's causing those wars. The West are causing these wars. They're causing this destabilization. All they want you to know is these barbaric, animalistic people are killing each other. And guess what? You might be a lucky one out of the animals. And that's what they want you to feel. But don't worry, you're a good animal. Come, we'll let you in. They don't want any facts about who really causes the war, who finances them. And when they got people fighting, they come in and they loot the minerals. They don't want you to know this. Why? Because when you sit up on that channel, your tone be completely different. And they want your tone boxed in and under control. I could be here all day, guys. The narrative, and let's show some emotional intelligence. Let's not be naive. These things matter. It affects how we see ourselves. It affects how we are treated. Listen, we cannot change what they're going to put on their television station. We cannot change how they're going to see us, but they better come across a black person or a brown person, if you watch this show, who has been indoctrinated by a narrative that they did not calculate, that is completely different to, I'm here to be a good citizen that says, I know exactly who you are and what you do. No, if you think you're about to make me feel, I know exactly the history. If you think you're about to make me feel, Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
And I'm on a mission for you.